Good morning, Amanda Hess, and greetings 33 North 96 West. I'm so excited today to be having this conversation with you and recording another in our series of community spotlights, or whatever we're going to call this. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to the opportunity to chat and talk a little bit about my journey. Yeah, I'm refreshed and ready.
So, in advance of this, I was trying to remind myself of how we know each other, how we have known each other, and I think we first knew each other through the North Texas Young Professionals.
Yes, feels like forever ago.
Yeah, like another lifetime. And it's funny because I I think you're aware, I've been organizing my personal archives. And so sometimes I come across photos from that period and some of the things that we were doing and up to. And like I look at myself and I'm like, who is that person? You know, a whole lifetime ago. So for those of you who are listening who are outside of 33 North 96 West or outside of the North Texas community, I will let you know that Amanda is also physically not currently located at 33 North 96 West, but she has been engaged with what we've been doing in a consistent and ongoing way. In the intervening time since we knew each other through North Texas Young Professionals, either maybe you knew Terry very well at that time. I didn't know you very well at that time, but you know Terry Malik very well. And so the two of you have been in engagement. And I guess that connection, although you have moved to Colorado, that connection has remained. And so as the community has been coalescing here, I've been so glad to feel like I'm reconnecting with you. Did I get all of that right? Did I miss any parts of our history together?
I don't think so. You pretty much summed it up. North Texas Young Professionals. That was, I want to say 14 years ago, 12 years ago. It was a very long time. I've known Terry, she's maybe since 2005-ish, when she had, her and Tim, ran the bike shop downtown Denison. My husband, Ryan, worked with them there and moved with them to Camp All Saints. And so we've, been in contact, for a very long time. But I always knew that there was something special about Terry. I didn't know what it was, but I was just drawn to her. As anybody that's been in her field knows, she's just got this aura around her that just brings people in. So yeah, I've always, been drawn to her, but then, she's become an integral part of my journey. And back to you too, that having those relationships that allow us to bounce ideas and contemplations off of each other is very important. So it's been, fun to kind of reconnect in that way.
Absolutely. So that covers a little bit of your journey. If you don't mind, Amanda, just for the benefit of the listeners and the community, share a little bit more about your journey. You're from here. You have a young family. Tell us a little bit. Just give us a context for the journey you've been on, and then what's led you guys to your current spot and how that's going for you.
Oh goodness, that could go a whole bunch of different ways. But for the sake of our purpose today, I'll just kind of share my personal journey. I was born and raised in Denison. I have a background of being raised in a Baptist church. I, have many relationships, many memories of that time, but is one of those things that when I would go to church, like it never set well with me, just because the message that I was hearing and that was sitting with me wasn't really that of love. It was one more of fear and sin based. So, I had a struggle with my relationship with God, through that time, just because I felt like the message I was getting didn't resonate with me, but I didn't know how to communicate that. Um, so I've gone on a journey of, you know, denouncing God and religion altogether. There's probably periods of my time that or my journey that I could say that I was an atheist, that there wasn't anything I, believed in, because it just, again, the messages weren't aligned. But what I found was that I kind of had to go through that to get to where I am today. Everything of what I've gone through has gotten me to where I am today. So, I don't look back with, you know, I mean, I used to. There were times of my life that I would look back and be angry and upset of how I was raised. But now I've come to an understanding that I needed those experiences to get back reconnected to myself, reconnected to God, and to all that is. So, it's one of those things that each person's journey is different based on what they're here to learn, what they're here, to be and to do. And again, it's just one of those things that everything that's gotten me to this point has been all for a purpose, or I feel has been for a purpose. Um, I've lived in Denison for like 33 years, lived in Sherman for one. So I was very much only a part of Grayson County for pretty much my entire adult life and childhood, of course. But I always had this calling, and so did Ryan. We always had this calling back to the mountains. So after COVID happened, I think a lot of people started, really connecting with what is life? What is our purpose of life? Is it to work for an opportunity of retirement when we're not guaranteed tomorrow? um, that was something that kind of sat with me, that I had to feel through. Like, what is it that I wanted to be doing, and was I doing that living in Grayson? And I wasn't. Like, I got to a point where I feel, looking back, that the universe was shaking me up to a point of, like, you need to move on, like you need to grow. And I wasn't doing that growing there, because I was giving more of myself to other people than I was of myself. And I felt like I kind of needed to separate a little bit to do that healing and that rediscovery of who I was. So Ryan and I had a discussion, and like in the course of a weekend, and I kid you not, I say a weekend, it very much felt like everything just fell into place. We put our house on the market. We got offers on the house. We got job offers in Colorado. Like, everything just kind of worked out for us to move on and to really start living. So we went to Fort Collins, Colorado, and lived there for about 10 months, rented a house, found out that that was way too busy of a lifestyle that we wanted to live. But we had the opportunity to really, to just experience life, and really to experience life as a college student. I don't know if you've ever been to Fort Collins, but it's very much a college town. And, so as a family, we got to experience that. But it ultimately led us on an opportunity to travel the mid-United States for about 16 months or so. And that landed us here in Alamosa, Colorado. So I know that was a, kind of bit of a roundabout journey, but I just want people to understand, like, there was a point in our lives that we decided to take an opportunity, and the universe didn't let us stop, didn't let us regret it. Like, it was like, go, 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 go experience. And we did. And it was super fun. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And some of it I was aware of, but it's so nice to feel your energy in the personal sharing. And it's beautiful. I'm feeling your availability to the opportunity. it's like you kind of set forth this idea and this intention, and then were available to receive the answer. And all of a sudden, like you said, everything kind of fell into place, and it's kind of like gears in a clock, cogs in a mechanism. Doesn't it feel that way at times?
Very much more now than ever. I think, as you reconnect to the other side, they let you know they're here.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a good segue into, for the benefit of our listeners, I'll let you know, I've developed a series of provocative prompts or questions. And my goal with this series is that we learn from each other through everybody kind of responding to the same prompts and questions. The list is probably going to be an alive list that evolves and we tweak over time. I don't know. I've given Amanda permission to disagree with the question and rewrite it if one of them doesn't appeal to her particularly. However, I think that's part of her energetic response. So, and we've as Amanda and I were discussing before, we both she and I recognize ourselves as in a process. So her responses at this time represent a snapshot of where she is. And I think that's really beautiful. So are you ready for this, Amanda? Question number 1. What does spirituality mean to Amanda Hess?
Oh, spirituality can mean a lot of different things. But in my journey, and it will continue to evolve, so I hold the right to change this next week. For me, it's really being in the moment. It's being in the now, because it's only in the moment that I can connect to the higher side of me. It's in those moments, and we'll probably get to this in a different question, but it's in those moments of pause that I can choose how I want to respond. And if I'm not aware, like if I'm in my head and going about my day and not purposely connecting, then my response can be different than I really want, to portray, because that's not who I am. But, as we go about our day, like there are times that we're in our heart and there's times that we're in our head. And it's really coming back to those moments of, where am I right now?
Beautiful. Question number 2. What does being a human mean to Amanda Hess?
Oh, being human. For me, being human is about the experience. There are times, which I had said kind of in the intro of my journey of life, and really around the times that I was a teenager, that the ideas of being a sinner limited me in some of the things that I maybe could have experienced. But again, everything is for the purpose of where I am today. But being human for me now is about the experience. It's about learning and growing and evolving from who I was yesterday into who I want to be tomorrow. It's about all of the feelings, the emotions, the opportunities of eating great food and being with people. Like all of those experiences in the physical form are things that I now am very grateful for that used to I maybe took for granted more than I should have.
What has been a big challenge in your life that you have transcended and understood or come to understand as an opportunity?
Ooh, this one is a big one. And this happened in the last year of my journey. Really understanding the power of duality and polarity, and understanding why it's there and what it's there for. I believe, at the heart of who we are, we're all brothers and sisters, we're all one. But we all came to experience different things. And I've had to learn this. Like, it's hard seeing people when you know and see the power in them, the strength in them, but they maybe don't see it in themselves.
That's beautiful. I'm going to interject with part two in response to that. When you see it in them and you perceive that they don't see it in themselves, do you feel, believe, know that your positive focus upon them has effect?
For sure. I get to choose what type of energy I put in to the world.
It's beautiful.
Try not to get emotional, but that's the vulnerable side of me.
Emotions are welcomed here. Take your time. Wish I could hand you a Kleenex through the Zoom screen.
I'll be okay. But yeah, it to me, it comes down to my intention. Where do I want to put my energy? Do I want to add to the fuel of the fire? Or do I want to send love and be that beacon of light to that person that may need it?
Thank you for that. Beautiful. So we've talked about experience and our experience in progression. Like we both relate to this journey that we've been on. I think a lot of us relate to that. But I wanted to ask if you have experienced any sudden moments of epiphany or realization that you would like to share. And how did that feel and how did it change things for you?
I'll share the most recent one, and it's not going to be anything super fun. But my husband and I were having a conversation this past week, actually, and he was talking about, and I won't be able to quote the appropriate term for it, but he was talking about a process of which, like, you go through change management. And, anybody in a corporate world knows that change management, there's a process to get people to get, alignment of the goal and to understand what, how to get to that success rate. And we were having a conversation about, the politics of the world, because there is a very big polarity in the political world. And there was a sudden epiphany of understanding that in order for us to progress, because right now, in my opinion, I don't see very much progression unless it's approved progression from the top. There's not a lot of innovation. What's the right word? Let me back up. I believe that there is a spark in each and every person. We are all here for a reason. We may not know what our reason is yet. We may be a little bit aware, but I believe that we're here now for a reason. And I believe that everybody has a spark of creativity in some way, whether you're an artist or a musician, or you're an imaginary because you just, you can see the future and share those stories, or storytelling. That's a creative art as well. But I don't feel that we give those opportunities to the younger generation to really dive deep into those sparks. I feel that we're going in a direction where, we'll start seeing more of that creative ingenuity, if that's the right word, kind of bloom and blossom. But we have to have the foundation to allow that creativity to come through. Where I feel that we are moving towards is there comes a time where, generations kind of shift. And I feel that there are times that I see myself as a bridge between an old world and old way of thinking to that new world and new age thinking to allow that creative spark. And I feel I kind of gap the two sides. And I hope this is making sense, but it's just one of those things that in where I'm at in my journey now, and the more that I grow, every day I grow, and the more that I look at the future, at the possibilities, the more that I get excited at what's to come because I see it. And I know others can't maybe not see it like I see it, but you have to be open to be able to see those opportunities, to see the seeds, being bloomed. I mean, it's just, we are the seeds of change and that grows into that flower of life. And the more that we do that, the more that we can bring in our authentic, true, creative nature into this earth and start creating what it is we want to create. That's where I'm at right now at this point.
Share any methods, teachings, or modalities that have helped you clarify your awareness of yourself.
A lot of books. Branching out on different teachings. Really, it comes down to how I feel and what resonates. So if I'm reading something and it's making sense and it feels like a remembrance in me, then it's likely something that I'm going to pick up and start understanding how I can embody this into my life. The teachings or, the things that I read that I'm like, this doesn't really feel right for where I'm at today. Doesn't mean I won't be there next year. Everything comes in time, but you have to be open to branching out, to understanding that there is more out there that we can learn from. A lot more ancient teachings that are out there that we can, learn from, remember, and teach. Do you want me to share some of the books I'm reading?
If you'd like to, like if there are specific ancient, as you said, ancient
Well,
or
I'm just saying there's a lot of teachings that are available that maybe we didn't. I was going to go to my Audible real quick. So one thing that we have touched upon, Paul Selig. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think his last name, sometimes people say it in a few different ways, but I
feel like I always say it wrong. So, but, I have read a couple of his, or not, I enjoy Audible. I'll be honest. I like listening to Audible books because it helps me to kind of not only hear it in their voice rather than my voice. I don't know if anybody's like that, but, it shifts something for me. But he has a couple books that I've been really enjoying. The current book that I'm reading of his was the Book of Knowing and Worth, which is in his channel series. I did also very much enjoy The Power of Now, which I know that I have not joined yet, but I know that you all are doing a book club type event for that I need to join. But that book was very powerful for me as well, because just, again, going back to what I said earlier, you connect to the other side in the now. You create in the now. You can create in your head and imagine things, but when you're putting that to paper or putting that to a canvas, like, you have to do that in the now. So it shows the power in our creation. Like yep, you have now. So, other books that have helped me on my journey, which, again, it's teachings that may or may not resonate with you, but Dolores Cannon, she's a past life regression hypnotist, I can't say that word, a therapist. But she's gone through, thousands of past life regressions and speaks to, kind of those stories, stories that very much felt resonating to me. There are many that I was like, oh my goodness, I remember having that. And it's just interesting to, when you understand who and what you are, and you understand that there's more to life than just this period of timeline, it puts things into greater perspective of, what we're here to do, or at least in my perspective, it does.
What would you say to someone who is feeling afraid or challenged by the economic and socio-political environments we find ourselves in these days?
What are you afraid of?
That's what you would say to them?
Mm-hmm. I would ask, what are you afraid of? Because if you don't understand where that fear comes from, how can you address it?
So there are two questions there. What are you afraid of, and where did that fear come from?
Yep. I mean, I would be nicer and I would go
Sometimes
through it
being
with
quite
them.
direct is a good thing, but do you care to elaborate now? You don't have to.
I can share like a fear that I've gone through and how I worked through it. This actually happened in Fort Collins. We lived close enough to where we could walk to get food, which was fun, because I did not have that in Denison. But sorry, hopefully you didn't catch that. I was at a restaurant eating outside, and it was right next to a busy street, and the college was right across the street. So there, was pretty bit busy at that moment because it was the middle of afternoon. And I was sitting there eating my Chipotle, and a car was going by and backfired, but it, backfired and echoed because of, how close the buildings were, and it was just very loud. And in that moment, I immediately thought gunshot. And then I could feel my response to the thought that I had for gunshot. It didn't take me very long to pull myself back down to understand, like, oh, that was a car backfiring. I'm fine, but it was in that moment, that response to that gunfire shot, or, if you watch the media, that there are shootings that happen all the time. And I was watching media at that time of my life. So it's one of those things that I knew that I had an unnecessary amount of fear in my body by the way that I reacted to that moment. And then I had to work through what caused that. And it was those beliefs that I was unsafe, that the world's unsafe. Those aren't truths. My world is safe. I don't go out of the house and feel like something bad's going to happen to me. I don't live in that mindset. I know I'm protected. I know I'm okay. But that was one of those moments where I realized how I was being impacted by what I was taking in and the beliefs that I had.
Thank you. That was a beautiful elaboration. And it helps to connect back to your original question. Where did the fear come from? And I would invite everyone listening to this to contemplate where the fear is. It's actually a frequency as Amanda said, that you can align to or align as, but you have to bring it inside yourself. Sometimes we don't know that we have done that. We didn't know when we were watching the news that we were aligning ourselves to ideas and then choosing to be fearful about the ideas. So this is a process, as you said, of acknowledging and taking responsibility for what you're bringing in and your response to it. Right?
It's also our responsibility. I mean, I'm learning that that's a lot about life. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to choose, what we're aligning to.
And how?
And how. And yeah, I mean, you have to take inventory on, and I think, let me take a step back and then I'll come back to the inventory thing. But one thing that I learned, and it took me a very long time to learn this, and hopefully for anybody listening, I can shorten that learning period for you. How we feel matters, period. If you're going through life and you feel like, and you believe that how you feel doesn't matter, then you're living for somebody else because you're choosing not to care about how you feel. And that was hard for me because I knew that there were a lot of things with how I felt that may upset others. Like going back to religion, I'm sure it wasn't pleasant for my parents, to know that I'm kind of going a different way. And it's again, there are times that I could have said that I was an atheist. I didn't attach that label, and I'm back to a good spot of where I am connected to everything that is. But it's one of those things that you have to take responsibility. And if you're not willing to go into that inventory of how you're feeling and what's causing those feelings, then you're going to always feel stuck until you unstuck yourself.
And no one else is going to do that for you.
No one.
It's
no
a
one.
deeply personal process. However, there are those of us who can stand beside you and support you through that process.
Honor you and hold you. Yep.
Who have been some great teachers for you, and what wisdom have you gleaned from them?
Oh, I've had a lot of good teachers. As I touched upon, Terry's been integral of just being that light on my journey, being that beacon of the way shower, as she would say. But really, I've learned on my journey that in any relationship, any person that I come in contact with, there is an opportunity to learn. I'm either learning how to not treat somebody or I'm learning how, to set aside my ego and to just love someone as they are. Like, there's so many things that we can learn, and people they may not recognize that they're being that teacher, to us. But what I'm finding in my experience is that I don't come into contact with people just randomly. Like, there are, the universe does some pretty cool things to connect people that you would think, it's such a small world, but it's a big world. I don't know. I feel like I try to learn in any relationship that I have, like, what is it that it's trying to teach me? What can I find from them that I can maybe embody myself, or don't, because I see how they treat people and I don't like the way it feels. Like, I don't know. I try to stay open.
I think that's a beautiful and brilliant response. Thank you. If you could snap your fingers and give every human being the knowing of one idea, What idea would you want us all to know? Speaking of learning from everybody and everybody being a teacher, what do you want to teach us?
Now, goodness, it's like there's so many different things. What is that one thing? I'd probably say that the peace that we are searching for is found within. And once we find that peace within, then we are bringing that heaven to earth. And it's there. I promise it's there.
Beautiful. Thank you. If our community has a soul, how would you describe it?
And I keep coming back to transcendence and evolving. Like there are very many. There are more than there were podcasts of this nature. Thought provoking. Maybe that's the better term. Because it is like we contemplate ideas that maybe when you're with your friends, you're really not talking. Or at least, depends what group of friends you're with. But I seek out this type of conversation because I feel that I need that deeper sense of connection in which that I feel that you bring to the community. You're there to help people think a little bit more about what life is about. And I appreciate that. And I enjoy being a part of that too, because, again, like I've said this in other, meetings that we've had, I look forward to this time to be able to have the opportunity to go a little bit deeper into some things that if I'm at the grocery market, I'm, obviously not talking about this with the strangers. But yeah, I feel like it's thought provoking.
I actually like the word transcendent.
I did too, but then I was kind of going in yeah.
Let me also say thank you for that. I think you were just paying me a compliment in a personal way, weren't you?
Always.
Thank you. So we have choices for how we relate to the manifest world. I am not one that wants us to escape it or ignore it or deny it. But we do acknowledge the elasticity of manifestation. And we can transcend some of the lower frequency responses. And through that, we change the world. As you said, bring the kingdom into being. Those are some of the expressions. So transcending our lower frequency expressions, I think, is a beautiful idea. And I love the idea of that, of us supporting one another in that. And that's kind of the idea of 33 North, 96 West as not only as an expression, it began as a podcast, but now we're allowing it to coalesce and take on new forms. So I love the idea of transcendence. And then I also love the idea of supporting one another, teaching one another. You've already spoken to that as well. Supporting one another in remaining focused, maintaining consciousness. That's really maintaining consciousness. Like I get up every day and I maintain my physical health by doing some exercise or something. Like we understand that our brains need work. Like we have to stay engaged. We understand that our physical bodies have needs. They express through movement and exercise and nourishment and all that stuff. The soulful spiritual stuff is also something that's important. So maintaining consciousness is those words I've been chewing on lately. So that was my last official question. What else does Amanda Hess need to tell our community and the world?
I'll touch on something you just said with maintaining consciousness. As I've had more friends and family reach out just with things happening in the world, and I'll just kind of share from my journey, and maybe you can touch upon your journey as well. One of the things that I found is that as I made a conscious effort of going within to really rediscover who Amanda was, or who Amanda is, and who Amanda is becoming, I find that I do care about other people. My perspective maybe on other people, they're all on their own journey. They're all there to, live their own journey, but I also realize that there are people there to teach me lessons that I don't know where they are in their evolution and their process. Like, they could be playing a role, in my reality, in my universe. But on maintaining consciousness, I feel that as one goes through the journey of rediscovery, it more becomes about that being and that living in consciousness. And as more and more people realize that, and reclaim their own sovereignty, will naturally change the world. But it takes going through that journey, each of us going through that journey. We can't, as we said earlier, we can't do it for somebody else. Like, everybody has their own journey again. And just going back to, not judging where somebody is at on their journey, because we don't know, again. But yeah, I feel like, our spiritual side of us, and that connection in that now moment, that being, that is that exercising of, that intuition and connection of the other side. And if we're not being, then are we living? Yeah.
Yeah, as complicated as we can make everything, I love the words that you've shared. Just being a witnessing presence, an awareness.
Just observe. You don't have to play in the middle of it. It's a choice to play in the middle of things. Just observe. What is it teaching you?
And how are you in energetic response to it?
Yes.
I agree with you. Everything you experience has something for you. And as you've just shared, that's also true of everyone else. That was a beautiful epiphany for me, to just contemplate the potential of the importance of an occurrence on a lifetime. This is a commonplace, like, trite thing, but like the stories of, like, one smile
can change a life.
Can change a life. Like, as something as simple as that, like someone may be having a really bad day, they're about to do something drastic, and someone else makes eye contact and smiles at them, and that changes the trajectory of history. It's all these ripples. We're all in this co-creation together. So yes, I love the idea that you've shared. I have learned from you today, Amanda, to be receptive to receiving teaching from everything and everyone that I encounter. And then what I would add to that is, and we've touched about this too, but I'm an energetic response and informing it in return. there's always this conversation back and forth.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, of course.
On that, we will never be able to change somebody with our judgment, but we can change them with the love and compassion that we show them because they see it in us.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Anything else?
No, I had fun. This is good.
Me too. Thank you so much. Well, I want to say thank you on a number of levels. Thank you for your attention and support and engagement with 33 North 96 West. Thank you for the energy and the contribution you make to the field. Thank you for sharing your journey with all of us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.